Tone shift. It's a term used for when the general attitude/mood changes from one tone to another. A chill conversation halted by the call of an emergency event, getting ready to lock in for a game of Apex after making jokes, stuff like that. Tone shifts happen naturally in life. The mood will swing as time goes by, it's inevitable. It'd be nice for the mood to stay the same, but that's asking for a little too much. Tone shifts will always come when you least expect it. But what about tone shifts in media? In books, in series, TV shows? How do tone shifts work there? There, it's manual, it's written, it's planned. In the hands of an author, anything goes. You can insert a dinosaur into your series, and depending on how you wrote your series, it could be not jarring at all. The tone and attitude you set for a series could change at any time, no matter how abrupt or unnatural it could feel. The possibilities are endless, but that doesn't mean all of them are good. If there aren't steps to adjust in the tone, you can create an odd result where it doesn't transition the best. It gives a feeling that's jarring, that's weird, even if it is funny. So what counts as a good tone shift? Well, the best ones in my opinion are the ones that slowly take their time in laying out the seeds for the eventual shift. The series could start out lighthearted and full of comedic vibes, but slowly introduce more serious aspects as the series goes along. That way, when the tone shift happens, it doesn't feel out of place. Of course, this applies to series that primarily have a plot laid out. Some series don't really have that overarching plot and are more episodic, which is admittedly a bit of a different topic. Either way, the act of shifting the tone is one that takes a lot of work. It can upset a lot of aspects of your series, the status quo, the characters, even the setting itself. And how far are you willing to push it? Are you going to take a half measure, or are you going to fully dedicate yourself to it? Are you going to remove the aspects that once made up your series? Or are you just going to blend it all together and hope for the best? Audiences aren't stupid. If something happens, we're bound to notice until we get an explanation. So when a series actually takes its time to give an explanation on why things have changed, and especially when they do it in a smooth fashion, then it's got my full direct attention. Even better when I don't even notice things have changed until I blink my eyes. This is going to be a short video, but there's this one series I've always loved that executed its tone shift almost perfectly. This is Red vs. Blue, How to Tone Shift a Series. So what is Red vs. Blue? If I asked that question in the 2010s, most people would at least know what I'm talking about. But we're in the mid-2020s now, so I'm not too surprised that people don't know what I'm talking about. Reminds me of another franchise I love. Red vs. Blue is a machinima series based on the Halo franchise. Created by Bernie Burns, along with his company Rooster Teeth, Red vs. Blue was a comedy series focusing on a group of red and blue soldiers trapped in the middle of a box canyon. While not the first of its kind, it was one that revolutionized the machinima scene, showing the kinds of stories you could tell using video game engines. From its original release in 2003, the series has had around 20 seasons give or take, but for the focus of this video, we'll just be talking about the first 10 they made. The history of Bernie Burns and Rooster Teeth regarding Red vs. Blue is massive, and not something I can compile in one video. So for now, just know that they're the ones in charge of Red vs. Blue. They're the ones in charge of writing the episodes, recording them, and publishing them on their website. So with that being said, how do you go from a series that started off as this,
Simmons, I want you to poison Griff's next meal. Yes, sir.
to this? Well, let's actually talk about what Red vs. Blue was about, so you can understand the context before we talk about the super duper cool tone shift that I've been building up to so far. The plot of Red vs. Blue is fucking stupid as shit. It has very, very loose connections to the Halo universe, and while parts of it get connected better later on, for this section, let's keep it ground level. Our story begins between two armies, the Red Army and the Blue Army. Both have control over a base in the middle of a box canyon, trapped to just fight each other. Both stalk and create ploys against each other, all just to capture each other's flag. Why? I don't know. The series does not take itself seriously at this point. They poke fun at the fact they're literally just in a box canyon doing nothing, and the tone is very lighthearted. New members of each team are introduced, and the plot is very small scale. One of the members does capture the flag, and a whole situation ensues, leading to one of the blue team members to be shot and killed, but he comes back as a ghost being able to possess people. Then, the other blue team members decide to hire a freelancer who turns out to be the Ghost's ex.
Let me get this straight. You're telling me that the guy that showed up here, scared the living shit out of us, shot a caboose and beat the hell out of the Reds wasn't a guy at all? That he was a chick? And on top of that, she was your ex-girlfriend?
In a nutshell, yes. That's an excellent summary.
Like I said, very unserious. You could quite literally title the first 5 seasons of Red vs. Blue, The Adventures of the Reds and Blues, featuring a freelancer who may or may not be a half cyborg, and a doctor who barely got his degree and is being possessed by a rogue AI that makes him do an evil laugh.
Don't worry, my metallic friend. You'll be up and about in no time.
It is wacky adventures all around. They get hit by a bomb that sends them to the future, but due to the positioning of one of the blue members, he gets sent to the past instead. More freelancers get introduced, and every freelancer is named after a state in America, causing some of the stupidest names ever conceived. There's an alien that caused one of the blue team members to get MPreg and birth an alien, and also there's a talking bomb.
Level with me, pal. I don't really look like a bowling ball, do I?
No, Andy. You're not nearly that fat.
If that doesn't explain to you the tone of the series, then I don't know what will. This isn't saying there isn't a plot to the series. Things happen that cause these characters to react accordingly. It's just that the way they react to the plot and how the plot is treated is so unserious that everyone's just in it for the vibes. Yes, let's go on this special alien adventure to this magic sword. The only time the series gets a little serious is with Blue Team and when freelancers are brought in, as those are the individuals that push the plot further, and it's clear they have some sort of agenda that isn't clear to us, the audience. The way this is done is so incredibly natural as well. Remember the planting seeds metaphor I mentioned earlier in the video? Well, Red vs. Blue does that perfectly. When we're introduced to the Ghost X, whose name is Agent Texas, or Tex, the Ghost, whose name is Church, tells us that there are other freelancers that are also named after the states of America. With that piece of information, we know that freelancers besides Tex already exist. And later in the series, we get introduced to them, and they clearly have history of Tex, along with Church. It's one of the few aspects of this series that creates genuine intrigue, because it's something that's treated with a bit more seriousness than when Tugger has to raise his baby alien.
Take your time. This is a big moment.
It's clear Bernie Burns had interest in this part of the story as well, because he would create 2 spin-off series of Red vs. Blue while Season 5 was premiering that would focus exclusively on the freelancers. Out of Mind and Recovery 1. These 2 series would lay the groundwork for the eventual tone that Red vs. Blue would have, so you could consider them the prototype for what we would see in later seasons of Red vs. Blue. Out of Mind and Recovery 1 are probably some of my favorite parts of Red vs. Blue. Firstly, they're short, they only last around 15 minutes. They don't overstay their welcome, so what they try to do is better focused on. These stories are a bit more darker, and the comedic levels that were seen in the original Red vs. Blue series is replaced with a more cynical sense of humor.
Nice place. Do you furnish it yourself?
Actually, I had an interior decorator help me. She's dead now.
These miniseries aren't afraid to show death and take it seriously, and it is admittedly jarring, which is why I'm glad this kind of tone was put into a miniseries before being pushed into the main one. They create their seeds here, but I believe it's perfected in Season 6. To establish some context, the end of Season 5 has both the Reds and Blues teaming up to defeat Wyoming, a freelancer, and Omega, an AI that makes people evil as fuck. He was the AI that was possessed in the dock that I mentioned earlier. After a scene where Omega possesses multiple people, Tex has the AI come inside her and she boards a pelican, where the talking bomb, yeah, remember the talking bomb, explodes, supposedly killing her, and also the baby alien that was birthed via MPreg.
Tex? Boo! No explosion!
That's how Season 5 ends. It ends on a very somber note about how you should hate someone not because of how they look, but because you personally know them and all their fault, and hate them for specifically that instead. What a touching message. But now we switch to Season 6, also known as Reconstruction, and this season immediately tells us the tone is shifting. It starts with dead bodies and the army investigating something. We get a monologue of someone talking to someone about something, and the one thing you immediately notice, there is no trace of the previous cast we once knew. It's almost like we're watching an entirely different series. The switch to the Halo Free engine cements as well. Everything is completely unknown to us. However, once we begin hearing an interview by a Red soldier, things start picking up for us. We hear about a pelican that crashed under a base, how soldiers began acting crazy all of a sudden, as if someone possessed them and made them act evil. And the picture starts forming in your head. Then they mention a body they found, one that wasn't a red or blue, but something else. And they specifically mention it was a she. What was played off as a comedic moment in Season 5 where a pelican blew up via a talking bomb is now played completely straight when a new group of people has to deal with it. The Omega AI, that was quite literally a cartoon villain, is now played off as a serious threat, making teammates kill each other. Is this even the same series anymore? No, we're still watching Red vs. Blue, so let's continue. After the interview, we get introduced to a new character, although this is actually someone we've seen before. In Recovery 1, we're introduced to a character whose codename is Recovery 1. Go figure. However, it's soon revealed here that his name is Agent Washington, another freelancer, just adding more to the mystery and lore regarding them. The series loves talking about stuff that only certain characters know about, and you have to guess what they're referring to. In the previous seasons, a lot of these were played as gags or not to be taken seriously, but here, with the tone shift, it's now something that stands out way more.
Does that concern you?
It doesn't make me excited.
You've been through a lot with this program, Agent Washington. The Epsilon AI we assigned
Has
you
already been discussed to death.
And this episode ends in the best way possible. They reference Omega, the evil AI, and how Agent Washington should go to the last known location it was known to be in, and really look at how they go about explaining it.
I see. So I should contact these experts.
We do not like the term experts.
Because no one really knows what our program is doing?
Let's just say the term expert is a little too complimentary in this particular case.
The moment he says that, you know exactly what he's referring to. And the moment the scene changes, we're back to where the Reds and Blues used to be, creating the immediate transition. Season 6 is almost a perfect season in my eyes for a couple of reasons. It takes the new serious tone that's been established, but combines it with the lighthearted comedic nature of the past seasons. Agent Washington serves as our fish out of water guy for this entire season. He's used to following orders, being serious, and getting the job done. So when he comes across Caboose, one of the members of the Blue Team,
He has something fantastic he needs to talk to you about.
Command? Oh no. They never have good news. Did somebody die? Was it my mom? Is she dead? Or my dad? Did my dad die again? Oh no.
What is this? I don't...
You see? He's yours now. No takebacks.
Is it my brother? Was my brother killed? That's it, isn't it? My brother's dead!
What? No, nothing like that.
Oh good. Because I don't even have a brother. How sad would it be to not have a brother and to lose a brother all in the same day?
No one died.
Joannis is dead, sir.
Okay, no one besides him.
it is a constant battle where Washington has to somehow navigate through the Reds and Blues goofing around with each other while dealing with a superpowered entity with AI powers that wants to absorb every AI for himself. It creates the best of both worlds, the serious plot with the comedic characters, but it's even better because now the comedy actually influences the plot in major ways.
Sheila? Sheila, are you okay?
What is he doing?
Oh, yeah, we transferred our tank's training program into the ship so that it could help us repair it.
Did you inform Command that you moved the program to the ship?
Yeah, we're not really big on paperwork.
That's actually a good thing in this case. If they don't know it's there, they may not have tried to activate it.
It's so interesting seeing the characters we've grown and watched for 5 seasons now get placed in the serious situations that are borderline life or death. A lot of things get reshaped or re-explained in ways that make sense now that we're in a more serious tone. Back then, we were with the Reds and Blues that had low IQ, so we didn't really question anything. But now that we have someone like Agent Washington, he actually sheds light on the topics we didn't think about. How they're all simulation troopers and that all of the events of the past seasons have been monitored, with freelancers being used to experiment on them.
Stop it! I can't stand this! No more bickering. You have to be the most immature soldiers I've ever met.
Your face is immature.
Shut up.
You can't order us around?
Yes, I can.
What's your rank?
My rank? You still don't get it, do you? You think you're real soldiers? You're not. You guys are nothing.
Whatever. Your face is nothing.
We use your outpost as testing grounds. Practice. You never noticed that you didn't have anything to do unless a freelancer showed up? Or you made a call to Command?
You're making that up.
Am I? Think about it. Name one thing that ever happened to you that wasn't directly preceded by Command calling you or sending someone to your base. One thing. Anything? No? I thought so.
This is actually something that was teased last season, but isn't followed up on because no one really thought about it until now. But the biggest light that's shed on this season is Church. I mentioned how he died and turned into a ghost that can possess people. That doesn't seem physically possible, and at the start, it's just played for jokes, and I mean that seriously. But later on in the series, it gets a slow retcon to one of the best twists that I'm actually not going to spoil for you. It completely reshapes the entire series, and is a perfect example of a series shifting the tone that doesn't just make the series more serious, but also retcons the past events to be serious. It's such an amazing moment that brings the entire series full circle because at this point, we're so deep into the adventure. We have the Reds and Blues infiltrating government databases and we're slowly learning more and more about AI, the freelancers, and shit that was 2 seasons ago in the background. So when we get this one twist, it makes us realize the plot points were there all along. It does not feel jarring, it just simply feels we tilted our heads to see a different angle. It's one of the reasons why, if you're gonna watch the series, you have to watch seasons 1 to 5 first. You have to understand the characters, you have to understand the comedy and comedic moments, because all of it carries into season 6 and above. And season 6 ends in a way that permanently alters the status quo of the series, and this is one I actually will spoil for you. One of the main characters that's been there since the beginning of season 1 actually dies. It is given a very serious moment, and the season ends off with one of the craziest reveals that, again, I'm not gonna spoil you on. I'm just gonna show you the common techno blade left on it. But that's season 6, and I hope you understand how this series managed to shift its tone from a comedy borderline slice of life series to an actual engaging plot that's written in a way to make it seem like it was there all along. But we are not done yet. The main goal and message of this video is already technically done since I did explain the tone shift, but I did sort of leave you guys hanging by showing this clip, so let's quickly side shift to a new topic. This is Monty Oum. If you're an animator, chances are you know who he is and how iconic he is in terms of his animation. Some projects you may know him for include Haloid, a Halo and Metroid crossover animation, but you probably know him for the creation of Ruby. Now there's a whole story to be detailed regarding that, but let's focus on Red vs. Blue. In 2009, Monty Oum met Bernie Burns at a panel during San Diego Comic-Con of that year. And within whatever discussion they had, it ended up with Monty Oum joining the team of Red vs. Blue as an animator. The way they revealed this was insane as well. At PAX of 2010, Rooster Teeth showed off a clip of Season 8 where Monty Oum's work was to be shown, and this is an ancient piece of history. It's 16 years old. I was like 5 when this happened. This single piece of animation started the shift of Red vs. Blue's tone physically. I talked about how it shifted the tone in terms of story, but it's here where its visual shifted as well. Fight scenes and 3D animated segments were included frequently in Season 8, giving us more funny moments, and amazing action. I won't go into Monty Oum's work because I've already made a video on it, it's been 2 years, forgive me, but most of my thoughts have stayed relatively the same. His work is incredible, and also gives us a new visual to how these characters fight on screen. For example, we know that Tex is a badass that can take down the Reds and Blues easily, but back then, we just got to see her backslap someone and that was it. But with Monty Oum on board,
Oh my god, I thought I was...
yeah, now you know for sure she's a badass. There's so much attention to detail that goes in the animation, and that level of detail would continue into the next era of Red vs. Blue, the Freelancer saga. Unfortunately, this is something that I am not going to go into because it involves a whole new season that's just too much to talk about. Maybe another time. But it perfectly transitions the tone both visually and emotionally into a prequel series focusing on the Freelancers and what happened all those years back. It's something you could clearly see Bernie Burns try to make in the miniseries, but wasn't able to fully visualize it until now. The series is darker, the comedy is cynical, the action is insane, but because it's already established the seeds of its tone, it's not that jarring. In fact, it's kind of alleviating and makes sense that the series is as dark as it is. We've been teased about the Freelancers for so many seasons, and the vague wording implies something serious happened back then, so it makes sense. Full circle. So something like that. Let's move on to the conclusion. Yeah, I'm not really the best at writing conclusions. This was primarily just a test video for me to talk about Red vs. Blue. This is a series I adore, and something I wish I got into when I was younger, even if I technically wasn't allowed to watch it. This series is vulgar, outdated in a lot of aspects, but has a lot of charm to it that carries over when the series becomes more serious. It's such a unique series in the way that it gets a lot of things right when it comes to writing, and when to alleviate your immersion. When to make you believe that these guys actually time travel to the future. When to make you believe that a group of idiots can somehow be a superpowered AI freelancer. It knows how to immerse you in, and that's one of the best things a series can do. Make you be invested in it no matter what direction it goes. If you have the time, I do heavily recommend this series. Although being frank, in today's age, I'd have to give you a little bit of a warning since this is an early 2000s show that has a lot of terms that are outdated in a sense, but I personally don't think it should be enough to write it off. Hey, that's just me. And for any longtime viewers of this channel, aka the Love Life fans, I'm officially reopening my Discord. I started up late last year to coincide with my focus on streaming, but I've mostly kept it private and low-key. However, if you are interested in staying up to date with my videos and streams, then feel free to join in the description below. I do not know why I'm advertising this on a Red vs. Blue video, but it'll make more sense when I do a Love Life one. Alright, so for my videos, I actually have a mandate where I need to include my face at least in some way, shape, or form, and I wasn't able to slide my face in at any point, so I'm just gonna put this here. Hi. Okay, bye.